Sir, on behalf of everybody present here and the PNC Academy, I welcome you to Reliance and to Spectrum 6.0. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shruti, for the kind words. Hi, friends. Good morning. Welcome to the webinar on building smart, in bracket I'm calling digital procurement. Developed specifically for Reliance team. I wish to sincerely thank the management of the Reliance, specifically Ramesh Malik, for their support around. Friends, when we talk of digital, and you might have seen, some might be getting confused, I'm saying smart procurement or digital procurement. The digital procurement is one, okay, I digitize my procurement activities around. But if I start incorporating AI, artificial intelligence, then it becomes smart. So that I would say key difference between digital and smart. So smart goes one step further than that. Friend, digital permeates everything we do today. You talk of digital revolution has changed everything that we come in contact. It could be the doorbells, could be the heating system, could be the watches, could be telehealth, could be even the books, favorite books around. Everything is becoming digital. So it won't be surprising to hear that something has gone digital. Whether it's designed for the consumer market or for the big business like yours, procurement is no different. So whatever activity you're trying to digitize, you're trying to make it much more transparent. You're trying to make it much more visible. The world of procurement is going through major disruption. I mean, if I would have, you'd have asked me this question 2 years, 3 years back, people say, yeah, it's a good idea, but we'll look into it. But today, many companies are moving in this direction to avoid the disruptions. We did recently a survey. I'll try to share some thoughts on that as well. Now, digital procurement supports procurement platforms that are evolving from a rule-based system. If you look purchasing, procurement, if I go 4 decades back, even 2 decades back in India, they were all rule-based, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Then people say, guys, those are well qualified to say, why should I join procurement? If I'm going to follow step 1, step 2, step 3, it's a straight line method. An audit will come and ask you, have you done this? Have you done this? How did you do the evaluation? That's approachable. But now we are moving into sophisticated level of automation. Automation can be done. But if you want to do sophisticated level, with the help of AI, if AI can tell me in advance, guys, you are buying every month, why don't you club them together? Why don't you make a once for order? We have a long-term agreement. Can this order be placed automatically? So that's where then you move from the rule-based. So on the base on rule-based, you make a long-term agreement, and then once I've got a long-term agreement, my system can create automatic orders around. Now, when we talk of digital transformation, it does not mean that we are trying to become digital only just for the sake of digital, that we want to look smart, that's fine. But basic objective is to create value and the visibility, end-to-end visibility. Today, you don't have a digital end-to-end visibility. I think everybody has noticed last year. If I'm placing an order with supplier tier 1 says, guys, okay, you will get the goods in next 2 weeks. What is there to prove it? The tier 1 is depending on tier 2. Tier 2 is depending on tier 3. The raw material might be coming from Africa or some other countries. If the raw material is not coming, the tier 1 can't do anything. So you need to have the visibility end to end. Nowadays, we are finding even in the shipment part. Those who are dealing with the shipment now, there are too many problems. The visibility is not there at all. So in short, if I say, if you want to be strategic differentiator in your future being success or failure, I think digitalization is becoming more like a necessity. Well, friends, in my presentation, what I will try to cover is the need for transformation and what it entails to be successful. One is, okay, I'm trying to digitize, fine. But what makes me to become successful? So, friend, as Shruti said around, you're welcome to ask questions at the end of the session. So whatever time, I'm open for all that. Well, friend, with this, I move to the next. This is what the key takeaways. I think the decoding of the concept of digital procurement, evolution, historically part. History, if I talk, I love to talk about the history part as well. The procurement history goes back to 5,000 years back. 5,000 years mean I'm talking of 3000 BC, when the pyramids were made. And I have seen the pyramids around, mammoth work around. So there were people who were doing movement of materials. Then there was Rome was built, again, same story around. Then the first industrial revolution. And industrial revolution, we came with the steam engines, we came with the railways, we came with the coal mines, and moving the coal materials. So there were materials, but there was no concept of purchasing. They were called materials men. The very first book on the word which is written down is in 1872. And there's a reference to materials man. I mean, the people who were dealing with movement of material. Then the World War I came, World War II came. Again, all the wars are run through logistics, supply chain, procurement. They become very important. Supply chain word was not there those days. Purchasing was there. Then logistics came into the picture. So that's how the evolution happened. But then later on, I would say from nobody's heard about in 1960s, 70s, the guy is called CPO. 70s it started, but not before that. Then came later on, guys, okay, this is not a traditional procurement. It's not a clerical thing. It's a strategic thing. It came in 1990s. And typically from 1990s, after the globalizations, after computerization, procurement has changed a lot. I'll touch a little more later, but then another thing comes, guys, ERP, e-procurement. I ask this question very often, guys, is ERP e-procurement? Then the question comes, is the word E is there, it's electronic resource planning around, then comes e-procurement. That's also electronic. Then digital procurement. What do I need for digital? Can I do digital in the ERP also? Or can I do digital in the ERP? E-procurement is a basis, a must. I want to clarify those terms around. I've seen many people, and I've been asking this question, guys. So they'll say, we can have digital in the ERP. Then I'll clarify those terms also. The journey of procurement from 1.0, that's a very tactical, very operational type procurement, firefighting type. Going down to digital with the brain behind it. That means there's an artificial intelligence behind it. Then we're talking about digital enablers to add values. Digitization part, I'll touch, and the face of the procurement, the way it is changed, the landscape of procurement. The broad objective is to defend values and become the innovator of change. That's the way we look at it. Well, the quote of the day I would call around, the digital procurement has the potential to completely change the procurement. What procurement you are used to it is going to change soon. To add value. The focus is going on. And how about do your diligence before rushing it? If somebody is thinking that, guys, okay, everybody is moving into digital, one size for all does not fit. If somebody says, okay, this guy has done, I'll follow. No. Sector to sector, company to company, culture to culture, different shapes are there. So digitization does not mean that I can just copy others around. I can get some ideas, then I need to customize it and modify it to suit my application. So you need your diligence before you rush into this part of it. I'll touch some practical tips as well on that. The context, let me start. Why this has become so popular in the last 1 year since the pandemic time. The pandemic has taught us one thing, that we have to take a relook at our procurement and supply. The configuration of supply chain, procurement, which was a straight line. Now it is no more straight, it is becoming circular. So one of the key lessons is to de-risk from political and geographical risk. Many companies have suffered. We were having suppliers, the whole world has suffered. Even till today, you can see the shortages in America. One could be due to the shipment part, one could be another one. The global hub was only one. The global supply hub was all in one place concentrated. The world factory was one place. Come on, guys, such a big world around and we are all depending on one country. And now we are learning the lesson that, guys, we need to have many hubs. So those hubs, the world is learning a lesson. I think that is happening already. When there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. So that's the positive part around. We all in our human life, if everything is going well, I get my job, I get this, I move around, I don't even worry to study further. But one thing, something hammers on my head, guys, the world has changed. Procurement has become digital. You need to learn about AI. You need to know about blockchain. You need to know all this. Then you start learning it. You know very well without that, I won't get any opportunity to grow. So that means the crisis, there's an opportunity. What exactly we are looking around is the flexibility, which Shruti was also touching on, agility and resilience. When I came from the college in those days, and I would say in the 80s when I was doing my MBA in the US, focus was on globalizations. Great. America was outsourcing many activities around. Many plants were being shut down because they found making in America was too costly. Why should I make a jeans in America? But they will design the supply chain in America. The cloth may come from Coimbatore. Stitching might be done in China. Packing may be done in Malaysia and sold all over the world. And that model has become very prevalent nowadays. But the question is, those days we were working with JIT, just in time. We learned a lot from Japanese, JIT. And I've seen Toyota's plant myself, 1 hour inventories, 2 hour inventories. But those concepts come, guys, okay, I'm JIT, I'm very slim, great. But I'm able to cope up with the resistor problems like this, which happened last year. So agility has become responsiveness, resilience, guys. Can I withstand all these problems? Do I have a stamina to withstand the risk? Do I have a risk appetite? All the resilient part is there around. So now that in 2020, the focus was on efficiencies, JITs, inventories. Now the whole concept is changing around. The big change, if I call around, we are no more a linear supply chain. We're getting into control tower concepts. Has become very complex and digital at its core. And if I want to become a control tower concept, I want to connect all the players, all my ecosystem. Ecosystem is becoming very important to me. Now, ecosystem, does my ERP allows me? That's the question mark to me. Now, why again coming up digitization, adjusting to new reality? If you want to adjust to the new reality, I think this is, and you want to take care of, that means you have to go through the disruptive technology. If you don't disrupt, so I think environment will disrupt you. So I would say get disrupted, move forward. And traditional technology, ERP, databases, I mean, databases were there. I remember the time in 2005 when I was implementing our leading for 200 country offices around. I had the database. Honestly, if I tell you, I never used it too much. I'll ask someone, can you pull out the data? The guy will take time. I have to get the programming done. So those complexities were there. So AI, then now we are looking at, obviously the data is there, but now it's a big data. AI is there, machine learning is there, big data analytics is there to revamp the procurement. Now we are moving into blockchain also, which I hope in another 4 or 5 years this will come up. Future will hold more complexities and more unpredicted disruption. That you have to keep in mind. Okay, last year was a big major disruption, maybe once in a century around, but who knows, anything can happen, which is not predicted around. Like few days back, everybody was talking around because of the flood in coal mines, coals are not there, 117 plants are not getting the coal. Okay, the government is covering up now, but those things can disturb anything. You know the China, the power situation. Any thing can happen unpredicted. Digitization has to be across and not in silos. If I've got a procurement chain, in procurement chain, I've got a strategic sourcing, I've got P2P, I've got a vendor management, and I've got a logistic team separately one. If they are not working in one line together, or my payment is going in an old-fashioned way, so that means if you're thinking of digitalization, do it not in silos, but with collaboration. So planning has become more granular. Now, in some industries, which is consumer-based industries, and where the choices are many, we had one project with one company I did around, they were making the chocolates, and the demand is fluctuating. He said, Krishan, 3 years back, whatever demand sales will give me, I'll just stick to it. Now, every month I make it, every week I make it, and then within the week it changes. So that means the planning has to become very granular. So this is the way things are changing, and that calls for a change. The new capabilities which are required to be ramped around, enhancing the end-to-end visibility across the organization, end-to-end. You have a customer on the one side, supplier other side, and there's a big chain. There's a big gap around. better understanding of demand driven more by technology and data. In the past, demand was okay, salespeople gave me and I will just stick to it. We will have SNOP meeting and finish it up. But not now. As I said to you, the company which I was talking about, the food item company, every week the demand changes. So that means your demand, which develops my demand and supply, has to balance. And it's a million dollar question. I mean, how do I balance it? To balance that means I need technologies, I need data. So that is where we're moving into it, improving the capability to move out of making decisions. Today we make a decision based on intuitive ideas. Since I come from that generation around, oh yeah, we have been doing this for 20 years, don't worry, just go ahead, do it. Now, no, you need the proof to be justified. Your data has to justify it. In the past, I know people call based on experience. Oh, Krishan, you have worked for this. Can you give us some ideas? Great. But today that is not sufficient around intuitive ideas. You need technology to justify the decision. And you need to modify, you need to refine them as a may move. And the de-risking, as I told you. In short, if I say around, we need to prioritize our change. I'm not saying that you want to change overnight everything. No. You need to prioritize, then transform. And if you feel it makes sense, so take one step at a time. You don't have to take all the steps overnight change. So think of transform and then try to repeat it again. That's the way I would call it. Role of procurement, I think I will just give a small flavor on it, nothing major. You know very well in most of the companies, 40 to 70% of the revenue goes on procurement. So procurement people have the big pockets. If I, as a CEO of the company, I have to think of a change, my procurement was in the UN was around $15 million. Any small decisions I could make would make $1 million saving easily. So the saving comes there. But now we are not looking at the bottom line. We are also looking, if I'm working in a manufacturing, in auto sector, pharma sectors, any sectors around in the packaging or this, it is not the bottom line, it is the top line also. Can I help the company to improve the revenue by getting a beautiful product, an innovative product or something? In public sector, yes, it is 20-25% of the GDP. Now procurement can easily drive 5 to 12% saving. But question is, if you're looking only at the bottom line from the same supplier, same product, supplier does not have that much buffer. If I'm your supplier, every year if I give you 10% reduction, that means, do I have so much fat around? Until I change my process, until I change my product, until I change my way of making it, I cut down my wastages around, then yes. So that's the way it goes around. Procurement value chain, I think each one should know around. Procurement is still treated as a secondary activities in most value chain. So procurement is the support functions. But I think this model, to me personally, if I look around, is developed in 70s, but not now. In those days, most of the companies were vertically integrated. So when I started my career, any company you join, guys, okay, this company is creating a trouble, buy this company. Start making in-house. But now the trend is opposite. He said, don't make anything outside, outsource. So when I can do 80%, 90% outsource, and I keep only assembly plant, so procurement has become a very key function. So I won't call it a support function, it's becoming a very important function. If I'm working with a company like Apple, where 100% is outsourced, I only manage the supply chain working in Apple. So that means my success depends on the supply chain. Procurement is a major pillar. So procurement to me has changed. So this old models, this is where I think we need to, even the old books I'm thinking around, when we were taught in the college, 5 hours, they're all changing around. Traditional procurement cycle. This is a traditional cycle, which I know whether it's a private, public sector, both follow the same. It's very labor intensive. Starts from the need, develop the contract terms, go through it, the whole chain is there, very bureaucratic. Now to do this, that's why it had never attracted the smart people in the past. Any well-qualified person will never come. And most of us, I mean, I also moved from different careers, started from design to production. From production, when I went to the supply chain education, then I thought, okay, let me go to the supply chain.
So the cycle is there now. But today I feel it's a wonderful carrier. So procurement or supply chain is a wonderful carrier because more companies are outsourcing. If we see the traditional, which I've seen in the past, this is how procurement people used to struggle around. They're fighting with the meetings, orders, claims, emails, invoices, blah, blah. It's 75% of the time goes into firefighting. Today, people don't want to work like that. So the whole chain, if you look at the game changer, it used to be called purchasing in 70s. Then it became, guys, I'm not a purchaser, I'm not a buyer. I'm doing some value addition. So they said, guys, okay, you became a procurement guy. Then came 1990s, strategic sourcing. And now we're talking of value, value, value. So value is a much bigger thing. If my functions are bored, my product is innovative at the same cost, I'm adding values. So value does not mean only cost savings. Cost saving is only one component of it. This is where I would say strategic sourcing, which started in the 90s. Actually, we started in 86, 87 in the UN, but we did it only for the very high value item, like buying computers, tables, chairs, vehicles. We started doing those things. So we had strategic sourcing team. Because the concept was there already, 1983, the concept was there. But the only thing, the tools were not there. The technology was a problem around. In the 90s, technology came in a big way. It boomed very fast. So we have three pillars around. So whenever I visit as a consultant with many companies, I say, guys, how do you run the procurement structure? They're all vertical lines with the pyramid. It's outdated. You need one line for strategic sourcing, one verticals for procurement operations, and one for vendor management. Or if you want vendor management, it could work with strategic sourcing. I remember the time when I was in the 72 when I joined Tata's, there were around 70, 80 people working in procurement. They were called materials management because they used to manage the material within the organizations, not all over the world. Within the organization, they were managing them, and the word was called materials management. The term material management has evolved. I know some companies still call materials management, and those who go to the operation management courses, MBA, I've seen the courses even still in India, and there the word materials management comes in. Materials management is a very operation word, I would say, managing the material within the company. Now people say, guys, I want to manage end-to-end chain. And the term has moved to supply chain. So we need a one pillar for strategic sourcing, whose job is to strategize, make long-term agreements for key items, maybe 20% of the key item, no worry, but they cover 80% of the values. Then managing the relationship with vendor. Strategic means long-term. So vendor relationship I have to maintain with someone. Procurement operation is nothing but P2P, procure to pay. If I made an agreement, I got an e-catalog, I can do P2P easily. So that's the big concept. The philosophy, if I look around from price management, like a small kid, but now we are no more kid, we are grown up. Cost management, total cost of ownership. Then guys came strategic sourcing. As I said to you, strategic sourcing, I started working on 86, 87 for some product, but then technology limitation was there. From 90s, it boomed. Category management. Now people say, guys, I'm doing strategic sourcing. I'm going to the one supplier. My colleague is also going to the same supplier. Why can't we put them as a one category, make a bigger volume? Then we learn from the retail business. E-commerce business came with category concept. If I work with an e-commerce company, I'm head of whether for apparel, whether for electronic item, whether for this, I'm like a mini CEO of the company. My profitability is for the sector. Then we said, guys, can't we have the same category approach in procurement? So the category management has become. So category management has evolved from strategic sourcing. Now we are moving one step further. The complete value management with the help of digitization, with the help. This is all the journey we started from industry 1, 2, 3, 4. Today we are industry 4.0. So when I came from the college after my undergrad, 69, 70, you could say, computerization was there. I had a chance to do my diploma in computer management from Bombay University, Jamnala Bajaj Institute. So, but that only helped me with the punch cards. I could do, first thing I did was Voltas was to create the PERD and CPM. I used the technology that time, so it helped me a lot. But now when I talk of Industry 4.0, where man-to-man, machine-to-machine, all connections are connected. One machine can tell the other machine, stop this. One machine can tell the other one, the production is completing now, shifted. So we have that type of linkages around. So I know many companies contacted us when this social distance issue came around last year. He said, Guy, I've got 40 people now. If I do social distance, I can only have 15 or 20. How do I stop it? And the production was going still well. How can I bring robotic into the pictures around? And robotic has to speak with a human being. So that's the way it did around. And I could see many companies prospered very well. Procurement today and in future. Let me start with, I think we all are in the strategic era, I would call. We are not in the old operation. Some people are doing operation, which is required, firefighting will remain, but that's a small part. Now a strategic era, which has started from the 90s. Now the next level is coming around is e-procurement. E-procurement does not mean the strategic is gone. The strategic era is there, but now I'm using technology to strategize. There are cloud-based tools available, eRFX, my bidding process, whether it's RFI, RFP, RFQ, whichever, they're all electronic. I can do reverse auction online. I say, guys, okay, 7 offers have come from my qualified suppliers. Tell them, guys, tomorrow is a reverse auction at the lunchtime, half an hour. You relax, you have your lunch, and after that, you know whom to contract. Government of India is doing it now. Government electronic market. Each ministry used to spend time and time. Now, items and prices are being fixed around. If I'm buying 1,000 pieces, another one is buying 500 pieces. Among the approved suppliers, you can do reverse auction. Now we are moving to the next one, digital era. E-procurement is okay, but E does not mean I'm doing digital way. Yes, I have data, I have information, but now I capitalize on those information. I need AI, I need machine learning, I need big data, I need RPA. So that is what we're doing now. So this is again, I want to emphasize here, if we are moving into digital era, I can do in the previous era also strategic era, or even before that, I could have spreadsheet. I remember the time I used to get spreadsheet from 200 country offices, data and this. But that was the old fashioned way. But now with digital eras, many things can be automated. E-procurement is nothing, as the name indicates, electronic, e-procurements. This is designed to streamline the regular procurement process. My processes today from one end is requisition. I know you can do requisition in ERP. You can approve the requisition in ERP. Then there's a gap. Then I have to do through the whole bidding process in my own way. My suppliers, I have to connect them. They will all come on my emails. Then I'll download them. I'll appraise them. So that is the one which is paper intensive. Purchase order, yes, I can make on ERP. But the payment part also, invoices were coming in hard copies. Now the government of India has made it a must. Any company with a turnover of more than 50 crores, e-invoicing. So that way, I think from up to the payment part, from requisition, we want everything paperless. And that is only possible because ERP has a limitation. ERP is a wonderful tool. It's a business tool. It's a basically business tool to connect the business organization with the marketing, supply chain, finance, HR. It connects them. Very good tool. But when we want to connect with the ecosystem, particularly procurement people, no. You need a different one. You may integrate with ERP. That's a different thing. To download the files there. Now we're talking of digital era. In the new era, the procurement function is rapidly evolving. Digital does not mean that I got an analog file and convert into digital. Oh, I'm a digital. To me, that is only digital, yes, but not digitalized. You have to keep a difference between the two. I remember one country office I was visiting in Philippines. The guy is a qualified guy, sitting down, morning till evening. What are you doing? Sir, I'm scanning and we're trying to digitize it. All the invoices, all the paper was sitting in front of the machine. Scan it, store it, scan it, store it. That is nothing but you're converting the hard copies into the analog into digital. But we want digital by nature. That's what we're talking in this era. But the beauty of it, once it's digital by nature, nobody can play with it. It's much more transparent. I know that hackers are there, and to avoid that, this is why we are coming with now blockchain. I'll tell later. That helps you that nobody can hack it. Then we are talking as this basically makes you to stand apart from competitor. Procurement, you all know very well, labor intensive. Every file, every contract does get so much of files and files. But once it is on the digital era, things are becoming much smarter. So in short, if I want to say it basically streamline the routine task, the tasks which I'm doing on a repetitive basis, mundane jobs, that's the one it improves it. So naturally you save the cost there. It gives you real time, again, data. You don't have to tell someone, can you find out the information what happened? Even now we struggle, to be honest. If somebody say, guys, okay, how many people appeared for it? How many passed? Somebody has to sit down, look from the data. It'll take one day. But if my system is there, already programmed, I press the button and give me the same time. So this is the way we are looking to achieve the use of artificial intelligence. And AI could be much smarter also. AI is one, it could be prescriptive. One could be predictive. Prescriptive means it can just prescribe me, sir, you are having a problem here. Predictive means I authorize it. And it goes further. Automates a repeatable task to boost efficiency and reduce cost. So this is how the journey started in 80s strategic procurement. Strategic procurement did not process too much until the technology came. And when technology came, I know just said to you, 86 we used to work around. But then from 90s, then 2000, now it's totally everybody talking. At your own home front, you have seen a big change. Irrespective of the age of the people, people are becoming digital. This comes up to the issues around. If you're thinking that way, so the example which I was giving you, my first companies around, if I say I got 100 people working in the procurement, 70% people were doing only O work, operation work, ground level work, firefighting work, running around, calling 10 calls, suppliers, run. The 20% people were doing T work, tactical work. They could plan a little bit, change something, change the loading system. So the T work around. And S was basically strategy long term. 10 people, or maybe 5 to 10 people. So this is the ugly duck, which I think we all learned in 70s and 80s. Even still, I see in many colleges that teach you this pyramid part. Structure is like that, process is like that. So this pyramid is to me ugly duck. And this ugly duck has to be transformed. Transform means reverse it. More smarter people at the S level, T level, and that means operation will be only having 10% people. If I've got 100 procurement people, 10 will be working on operation. Firefighting will remain, let's be practical. But then the T could be another one, but major people will be doing strategic work. So you need much more qualified, much smarter people around. It's not the jobs are going away. It means that you need to train the people. I've met many companies around, very well qualified engineers, and working at the O level. Everybody needs a job, they work on it. But if they are given an opportunity, they will be very happy to do the S work. But in the good old days, we were told S means only one guy can do S, who's the boss. No, not necessarily. So S could be spread over. So we need strategic transformation. That's the way I look at it. Now, again, I'm telling you ERP, there are many pains in the procurements. Since I've gone through it, I've implemented ERP myself. Some of the data you don't get. It's complex. It's a very heavy system. It's good for the business. It's good for the finance. But from procurement today's need, those days I was the most lucky person when we did it. But today when I look back, it's become a dinosaur to me from procurement context, not for the company's context. For the company context, still a wonderful tool. But from the procurement angle, you need something different. You need e-system. You need to connect ecosystem with suppliers. Those who are your partner suppliers, you want to connect them. The journey, if I look around, digital journey is already started. I mean, Digital India program, you're all the time hearing it. I think when I compare with the US and other where I spent 25, 30 years abroad, India is doing well when it comes to Digital India. At the government policy level, they're pushing quite a lot. Now, question is how much companies are adopting it. Many small industries, they think, guys, if I put money into this, it's like a sinkhole. Yes, for some people, it's a sinkhole. Success rate was very poor if I go back 5 or 6 years back, but now people are becoming smarter. Because the problem is when it comes to transformation, they all go to the 5 or 6 big companies and everybody has the same solution. Come on, guys, each company is different. How can same medicine work for everybody? How can same doses work for everybody? So that is what we need. The transformation means you guys have to take the lead. You may take consultant to help you, fine. But don't put the whole blame on them around because they'll give you a ready-made package. But you guys have to think on what I need. So go step by step around. For some, it's a ladder to go up. They want to differentiate yourself. Well, I would say again in short, if I say it's a game-changing tool. This is where I can explain you a little bit about what is procurement 1.0, what procurement 2.0, procurement 3.0, and procurement 4.0. This maturity model, we have a small game, which is called, we have a playbook available on our website. It's free access to all of you. If each one of you wanted to, and we did for a few top companies in India, to assess their maturity level. Everybody wants to see, one is their own competency level. Second, you want to see on the mirror, well, guys, what is my competency level? Then you also want to see what is the maturity level. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So e-procurement, if you got, then you have close to 3. If you've got digital tools around, then you have close to 4. ERP is procurement 2.2. So you can get a fairly good idea, but those who want to do the test, it's a half-an-hour test. It's a wonderful test. Each one of you can do it. Assess the maturity level of your organization. Here are the broad technologies. Big data analytics. I'm sure you're hearing quite a lot. IoT, virtual reality. My goodness, it's a great tool. I can put the goggles around. I can immerse into my company. I'm visiting a company in the US, sitting in my own place, whether in Delhi or Mumbai or any place. I can immerse there as I'm there. I can see the whole plant. I can use crowdsourcing. I don't have to visit the company. I can use the crowd. They'll go and visit and give me the feedback. So there are many tools available on this. Procurement 4.0 is naturally lower cost, better risk management, improved visibility. So guys, this is the one technology, I think. The broadly which we got from the data, AI is picking up, RP is also picking up quite a lot. IoT is, for those who are dealing with medical supply or any other shipments around, which are very prone to temperature, high humidities, they go with IoT. So IoTs are nothing but your ears and eyes in the transportation. And the ears and eyes give the information to your brain, to your artificial intelligence, the blockchain and others around. Today we are moving with the real-time connections. I remember the contract which I gave it once to China long back. I used to follow with the supplier sitting in US. Every time we'll hear the same thing. Sorry, we have problem. We'll get back. We'll do in 1 week. In 1 week, we'll never end. It'll end, go for a month. The problem was somewhere else. So manual collaborations, digitize the collaboration part, automatic simulation, and continuous event. I'm moving faster, keeping in mind the time frame. So this is the beauty part of it. We showed you in the strategic sourcing 3 parts. Source to contract, strategic sourcing. It could become predictive. Guys, the market has changed. You better look for a new supplier. P2P. Because since I've got a good long-term agreements, procure to pay could be automated for those items like big companies. I mean, even if you look at the Walmart and others who are they know very well the prices are fixed and the minimum level reaches automatically order is placed. There's no guy looking around in the procurement how much a piece is left. No. You only as a strategic person define, okay, I should have in the shelf 100 laptops. The moment it comes to 10, place an order. It automatically goes. It's automated. Then I've got SM supplier management. And supplier management is becoming proactive. If I feel supplier is going through some tough time, problems, supplier performance has been bad, it becomes proactive action for me. They'll say, Krishan, you are having a problem with this supplier for the last 1 year. Better look for a new one. That's the way it's become proactive. Now, this is the way it is trying to explain around what is S2C concepts around, where we can do it. Categorizing. Keep in mind, the whole story of this one depends on data. If data is garbage, then everything is garbage. Since I'm one of the, you can say, founder for developing United Nations Standard Product Standard, UNSPSC, which is used in Oracle and SAP, I think I felt very necessity that if you don't give codification, you write description. Description, I might be from one part of the country, another part of the country, all written in English, but they're different. Computers can't understand the description. Even the name of the company, somebody will say International Business Machine, IBM. Somebody will write IBM. For computers, both are different. So you need to have coding system, categorizing system. And actually, we did one project with Government of India also, but it's a long way to go still. Predict demand and artificial intelligence. So this is what it can do. I can just skipping quickly. Now, areas which are ripe for DX. DX is digital transformation. I'm not calling DT. DT means it's a transformation, means it's a programming part. But when we're looking from the operation side, I'm calling as DX. Because I'm doing the same workshop with Japan next month. So they use the word DX very commonly. So when we talk about DX, we are doing in contract management, transactional procurement, strategic sourcing, business, category management. All these activities need to be transformed. I'm not saying that you transform overnight. You need to see where do you want to start with first. I will certainly say go with the strategic sourcing, go with the transactional activities. Transaction takes away too much time. If I can make that digital, great. So this is what it explains the different steps around. Overview of AI. To put simply, AI can learn from data. So AI also becomes smarter with the data. Like our own body, human body. We get a lot of data with our eyes and ears. All the time they're looking around, they get the data in the head. And my brain basically interprets the data and gives me, Krishan, do this, do that. And over the time, this brain also becomes smarter. But if I don't have a brain, I can't do anything with the data. So having a data is no important around, is brain also becomes smarter with the time. Same way AI also start understanding, interpreting those things better. So intelligence is a non-human entity. So here, then come the robotic process automation. Some are the ones which have got a long-term agreements. Spare parts, MROs, fixed prices, everything is fixed up for the whole year. So when the need comes, it could, and if I've got 5 pieces of bearing, and I have said, okay, if it is left with 2, place an order, it should go order automatically. Why should I go and check quantity around there? I know there could be error between the computer and the shelf, but system could still do it well. So RPA is a cognitive computer selection. Here I just want to explain you a little bit around human angle this way. IoT is my eyes and ears. My ears are seeing, listening all the time. Eyes are looking at it, and the data is going to the head. Then my brain tells me the AI part, guys, now somebody is going to hit you. Better you move your hand. RP action. I raise my hand, I hit someone, robotic process. Same way we can do in the procurement. Similarly, IoT, Internet of Things. I've got the IoTs. On top of it, I've got sensors. IoT is only giving connection to the clouds. And then from cloud, I'm getting a data that, guys, your container is so and so place. But if I want to know the sensing of temperature, humidity, I could put the sensors. So nobody can change those data. Yes, in today's system, maybe, but tomorrow when I get to the blockchain, no. IoT, I think I explained you already. Now, robotic process automation, AI. Robotic process driven to some extent, like the procurement process. Then with process means you're defined what is the minimum level. You define whom the contract should go when this level comes to this. I could do with manual intervention, go and check how many bearings are lying. I'm supposed to have 10 bearing minimum. I can say, guys, now place an order. But then I could do it automated also. I could have trigger. Guys, out of 100, if it roaches to 10, you place an order automatically. It's a process driven. Then I'm going to the data driven. Now I'm getting a data on a daily basis. And that data is analyzed with the help of machine learning, with the help of algorithmic. So those algorithmic, they give the analytics. Right? You are having a trouble here. Your supplier from where this is coming around, they are under flood. They have a tsunami, they have this, they have this. So that prescription comes to you guys, you have a trouble with this, better find a new supplier. And if you want them to do action also, more like a human being, it can do predictive, one is prescriptive, one could be predictive. And then I could go even further to take action also. So this is the way we are moving from RPA stage up to the help of AI further. Structure, keep in mind, when we are moving into these type of things, can we run with the old system? No. Old system of pyramid, now we are going into network. And when you guys are all working from home, it's all with the network. So you need a network. You might be having different level, different functions, no worries. But you need to do the peer-to-peer network. So your structure has to change. You can't have a structure of 100 years old structure, which was designed in the army time, fine. But now we are becoming a knowledge organization. So we need different type of organization, different type of structure also. Procurement landscape certainly is changing in a big way. Digital transformation, if I talk around, digitization, as I said to you, from analog to digital is digitization. Digitalization is by nature digital. And transformation means I'm transforming the function as a whole, not silos, That's the way we talk around. So there's a concept of digitization, it's a conversion. I convert the data, as I explained to you, in Philippines, the guy was sitting in front of the machine. To me, it's a wastage of knowledge of the guy, education also. So then come adoption, and last come the function, the business as a whole. No silos. Tomorrow is what we are looking around procurement. 80% should be strategic, the way I showed you, the reverse pyramid. And 20% could be tactical operation. I can live with that. But if it's today, 80% is tactical and operation, and only 10% or 15% is strategic, that is what I think it pinches you. Tomorrow, as I said, I think we'll discuss this part, enablers. This is the one smart thing I want to talk around, a smart contract. This is big. This is from the blockchain. Now, what is smart means? It is programmed. What is contract? I'm a supplier, you are the buyer, you say, guys, if you do this, I'll pay you 10%. If you do this, I'll pay you 20%. If you do this, and define my rights and obligation. My rights, my obligation, your rights, your obligations. We write with 40 pages, 20 pages, conditions, condition. And I know in the World Bank, when I do around for others, 100 pages contracts around. Now, if those contract reading and writing, if I could program it, and each program, each activity, I can explain what does it mean step 1, what is milestone 2, what is milestone 3. If computers can interpret it very well based on my requirements, today problem is that we are not able to define what exactly we are looking at. Even if I ask someone, can you write me the deliverables, what you need in this contract? The requirement come from HR, requirement come from legal, we need this. We need a legal expert. I'll say, what type of legal expert? What are the expectations? What are the outcome? No. So I think that's what we're looking around. First, we have to change that. Then we come with the program, and the program can define automatically this activity is performed and the payment goes. So this is what we're trying to change from pre-program, chain of event, execution, settlement. Complete automated. Earlier it used to take 1 to 3 days, now it'll take minutes. Now coming back to this digital procurement framework. First thing is value proposition. Why do you want to go? You need to justify to your top management. Keep in mind, that process is not changing. The person, there's a shortage of money everywhere. Money is still the king. You guys have to explain why do you, what value you are trying to change. Digital category and service procurement. Digital supply chain and supplier management, how are you going to do? Innovative product digitization. Digital process tool, and lastly, organization care. So whenever you're trying to do the first start with the value, then start with the categorization, and lastly, I would think around is organization and capability. Thus, my team is capable. I'm spending money. So I need to change my team around. I remember when I implemented in 2005 ERP, we have to train everybody around. They were all grumbling even after having ERP. Not having ERP, they were grumbling. When we got the ERP, they were grumbling. So you have to train the people to do that. So this all requires reshaping the procurement. Now, when we're talking of these people, we need team who are big ideas, brainstorm all the time. Any problem comes, brainstorm in a cross-functional way. Procurement can't work in silos. They need to take the help of production people. They need to take the help of design people, have brainstorm frequently. Think differently, be creative enough. So that's the way I would say, summarize, if I talk of the professional. Now coming back to digitizations, the old advice all the time is there, walk before you run. Don't run overnight because somebody has done it. Yes, you have to expedite, no second thought. But first you walk with a small step, learn it, is it worth it for you? And I would again advise that first sit down, draw your maps. Because I'm heading some firm, I say, guys, okay, you want to do this, show me the map. How do you plan to implement it? What is the first step? What is the second step? So you guys have to learn. I mean, consultants will come and they give it to you. That's a different story. But you are the one who are affected. You know the pain. Write down where the pains are there. And how do you want to address those pains? So that I think has to come to a lot extent from in-house. Who are the peoples that would be touched by this thing? This also you should not ignore it. Because the most of the problem come, we are all complacent. I'm doing the same job for 20 years. I'm growing with age. I'm growing with number of experience. But the moment you come with the digitization, everybody will start looking what is going to happen to my job. And then they will create problems. So you need to come up around what does it mean? What new skills are required? What each one has to learn around. And what is for each one? I think one need to come with that. And how it's going to affect customers, vendors, employees, everything around. Pick a function that touches the least amount of people. Don't start with a difficult task. That's the problem around. Sometimes we take a very difficult task trying to show as a matches. No. Take the low-hanging fruit first. Let the management get convinced with you, you are the right leader to do it. And once you see it's great, then everybody will follow you. Thoughts I have on this. Procurement is not just buying goods and services from outside. It relies on strategic planning. You need to strategize your plan. Because procurement, again, is some chain. Procurement chain, supply chain, whatever you may call. There's end-to-end movement. You also have a customer. So that chain needs to be planned. and careful observation what could happen in this change in terms of deadlines, in terms of qualities. It's a vital part of the business of any companies. At the end of the day, it does not matter which industry you are. Digital transformation is sweeping all over in all the sectors of economy. You talk of any sectors, they are coming there. Companies that want to remain competitive and grow, I think they have to move with this, and they need to develop their own future strategy as well. Well, friend, with this, again, I want to thank you for your patient hearing.